4th of July weekend, and I thought I would maybe think about focusing this class or offering an intention for this class, considering the concept of freedom. When we celebrate 4th of July, we celebrate our freedom and our independence. And it is, freedom from oppression, or to start the opportunity to start a new life, or to find new opportunities. But I'd like to kind of expand that concept and think about what personal freedoms mean, and how yoga aligns with helping us kind of break down boundaries and explore those personal freedoms. And I thought there's a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's a spiritual leader. He's renowned around the world for speaking about peace and mindfulness and spiritual concepts of how to connect and make that yoke, that mind, body, and soul. And his concept, or his quote that I found interesting about freedom was, he says, letting go gives us freedom. And freedom is the only condition for happiness. If in our heart we still cling to anything, we cannot be free. So if you just sit with that for a minute and maybe bring your hands to heart center and think about the things that might be sitting heavy on your heart today. And not to make this a heavy class, but just an opportunity to free yourself from the weight of those worries or concerns or anything that might be keeping you from experiencing joy. And maybe today, as you just bring your chin to your chest, maybe offer yourself an intention, if that's something you're comfortable with, and just give yourself permission to explore freedoms, maybe new postures, maybe step outside your comfort zone today and not safely and comfortably, well, always safely, but not comfortably stay in that place in a posture where you feel you've been for a while. Maybe stretch yourself a little bit and try to explore new opportunities, and maybe take the time as things and distracting thoughts pop in your head, worries or concerns or things that distract you from this practice, give yourself permission to free yourself from those and just be present, just be. So start to bring your attention to your breath. And as always, make sure you're in a comfortable seat. You can drop your hands to your thighs if you're in Sukhasana, which is your comfortable seat with your legs crossed. And just start to bring awareness to your breath and to your alignment. Make sure that you're tucking your chin gently back so that your ears are softly floating above your shoulders and your shoulders above your hips. And as always, lengthening that spine, finding space between your vertebrae. And just be mindful of the thoughts as they pop in, just observe them. Don't give them any attention. Let them float away as you bring your focus back to your breath. Just make sure that you're breathing into those areas where you might be holding tension. Just bring awareness to what's going on in your shoulders, in your hips. Feel yourself rooted in the earth. And then start to flutter open your eyes. Bring your arms up and overhead, hands to heart center. And start to reach out, grab your blocks or whatever you're using, thin books about the shape of a block, something that can give you, that you can hold on to. There you go. And I want you to bring your Biceps into your ribs and hold your blocks out to the side. And then we're going to slowly reach up and then turn them in so that they touch on the top overhead, so that you're pulling your shoulder blades down your back, and then open to cactus on your exhale. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, open to cactus. Inhale, lift up. Open to cactus. And then slowly begin to bring your arms down. Now pay attention to what's going on in your shoulders. If you start to lean forward, that's not good for your posture, so back off. If this is too much for your rotator cuff, if you have some owies, just bring your arms in a little bit or keep them up, your choice. Our shoulders, and your inhale, come on up. We're going to keep doing this a couple times on your breath, but your shoulders, your joint is like a ball, like a golf ball in a tee. So it can move. I think I've mentioned this to you a couple times, in all directions. So some of these warm-ups I like to use to get those joints moving. So you determine how it feels in your body today. And straight up and out. One more time, up. Be mindful what's going on in your neck. Don't let your neck jet forward. Keep it, or keep your ears over your shoulder. One more time, up and down. Now bring your hands in, and we're going to palm so that they're parallel to each other, and you're going to extend them straight out so that your palms are facing up like you have weights. Just imagine these blocks or whatever you're using as weights, and you can just use your hands if you don't have a block. Try to keep your spine nice and tall, and out, and in, and out. One more, in, and out. And just bring those blocks down for a minute. And just rotate your shoulders. Take some time, some organic movements. Just kind of squeeze it up to your ear and rotate it forward and then back. Just change directions and then bring them up and over. And relax. And then come back to a neutral spine. And then just dip your chin forward, keeping your spine nice and long. And just some nice gentle breaths here. Just feel the stretch in the back of your neck. And then inhale, lift your chin up towards the ceiling and let your head drop back, keeping a nice tall spine. And remember, however you're sitting, you might want to elevate your sit bones a little bit. Come back to neutral, maybe on a blanket or a pillow, so that you can drop your ear over to your right, so that you can keep a nice, comfortable spine without rounding your back. There you go. That's great. Great, good adjustment. And just let gravity play down, stretching out that side muscle. And then chin to chest. And bring that left ear over your left shoulder. And just stretch it out. Try to be mindful of what's going on with your right shoulder. Try not to be pulling that up towards your ear. Just let it hang down. Keeping those shoulder blades tucked back, hugging the spine. Drop your chin to your chest. And then slowly make some small circles with your neck. Just walk your chin around your sternum and then up over your shoulders. Nice and slow at your pace. And then the opposite direction. Our necks are like that super highway where all our nerves and blood vessels run, so we want to open up that space in our cervical spine so that we can really get the full benefit of today's practice. And then come back to neutral. And then maybe kind of just do some wiggles and maybe some seated cat-cows. So arch your back, pull your belly button in, bring your shoulder blades apart, then inhale, chest forward. You can even take your hands behind your hips or on your back and arch. One more. Exhale, arch. And then come to neutral. Let's take our right hand, walk it out to the side. You can take the block and put it out here. Or you can just walk your fingers out, your call. And then keep your shoulders and hips to knee. And then start to bring your top arm up and over. And just rest. Opening up the side body. Your gaze can be forward. And then slowly bring that top arm up and over, engage your core, and then walk your block out the opposite direction. Hold on to it and start to bring yourself up and over. Really stretch, try to get as much of an opening on that side, that right side body as you can. And breathe. Keep your shoulders facing me. And come on back up. And then I want you to imagine you're stirring a pot with your torso. So we're going to start bringing your front, your chest forward over your right knee. Sweep it around front. And then pull your belly button in so like you're doing a cat. And then start like you're stirring a pot with your torso. And try to get as much movement in your upper body as you can. And then go the opposite direction. And pull that belly button in, spread those shoulder blades when you come back. And push your chest forward when you come forward. So big sweeping movements. And then did we go the other way? If we haven't, let's do that. I don't know, we might have gone both ways already, but that's okay. And then come to a neutral spine. And just shake out and relax. And let's just lift our arms up and stretch, 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 stretch. Open them, rotate your wrists. And then bring your right arm out and stretch out that carpal tunnel right there and right. You want to make space in here too. Gentle, just gently pulling those fingers back. And just breathe. Nice. And then relax that hand and bring your left arm out. Gently guide those fingertips down. You should feel the stretch in your forearm, upper forearm, and above your wrists. And breathe. And then slowly release them. And then find your way to all fours. So as always, check your alignment. Make sure your hands are under your shoulders, knees under your hips, and ankles behind your knees. So now I want you to do, take your arms, we've not done this before, and I want you to take them and face your fingertips towards your body, just like we did when we stretched out just before the stretched out your carpal tunnel. If this hurts or doesn't feel good, or your wrists are too compromised to do this, then just leave them on the mat the way that they were. And just gently slide back with your hips, just a small, gentle stretch in your forearms. And then release them easy and gentle back to the mat. You might want to lift them up and rotate them a little bit. And let me get this way so you can see me better. So we're coming to all fours. And make sure that your fingertips are spread and you have the weight evenly distributed in your hands so that you're not putting the weight on your wrists. And then just take some gentle cat-cows here. Inhale, exhale. And take as much movement as you like in this pose. You're just warming up your spine so you can stretch it out to the side. You can take it back, find your way around just to bring some movement, move that fluid in your synovial fluid around. Listen to your body as always. And then come to a neutral spine. Now we're going to do a thread the needle, but this time I'd like you to ask you to just entertain the idea of taking your right foot out to the side so that it's your toes are pointing forward, and then take your left arm out, and then thread the needle this way. Now, if that's too much for you, then leave both knees on the mat and just thread the needle this way. But here's one of those freedom from coming outside your comfort zone. See if this new way you can explore a little bit, see, without hurting yourself. See what it feels like in your body. Sit your hips back. Let your left shoulder come to the mat. So you should feel a stretch in your leg and in your shoulder. Listen to your body though. No one has to do it this way. This is just another option. Take a couple breaths here. And then slowly find your way back up onto all fours. And take your hips back, open your knees, bring your toes together, and come into child's pose. And I'm going to offer a couple of different variations of things that we have done in new ways. So as I introduce them, you decide if today is the day to explore that. And then inhale, come on back up to all fours. And this time, take your left foot out, toes pointing towards me. Left hand is rooted on the mat. Extend your right hand out to the side. Thread that needle, sit your hips back. See how it feels. Now, maybe you did it on the other side, but this side's not feeling it. That's okay. Just honor your body. Take your breaths here. Open up your upper back. And then slowly bring yourself back to all fours. Now I want to focus and let's practice coming into down dog. But I want to be able to make sure that your alignment is such that you can go from down dog into plank without moving your hands or your feet. So set yourself up in all fours. Check your alignment. And then I want you to step your hands about a palm's length forward. So you're stretching forward. Curl your toes. And it might feel a little wonky when you first do it. Sit your hips back and then lift your hips up and back so that you have a nice long upper body and your biceps are hugging your ears, feeling like your elbows are rotating in and your hips are pushing back. Your core is pulling in, your belly button's tucking in, and your gaze is down. Your head is just hanging, and you're pushing your heels towards the mat. And then slowly engage your core and start to shift your chest forward as you pull your belly button in, push your heels back, push away from the mat into plank. Come on back up with your hips. Now, if plank is too hard for you, just come and bring your knees down towards the mat so your shins are parallel to the mat, and then up and back. But try to keep that thought of pulling your belly button into your spine as you come forward. So you have a far reach in your upper body, and the weight is evenly distributed on the pads of your knuckles. Engage your core, shift your chest forward, push away from the earth, and come on back. Take a breath, and then drop your knees to the mat. Open them wide, take a child's pose. Down dog is a very, very active pose. And plank is a challenging pose because it requires strength, but not in your shoulders. If you do it right, you're using your core, you're using your back, and you're pushing away from the earth so that you're not sinking into your shoulders. So there shouldn't be pain in your shoulders. So just look at me for a minute. I want you to think of turning the doorknob. You know when you turn a doorknob, you have to turn, I don't know if you can see me well, you turn this way, and that movement of your elbows rotating in is how you should think of your hands on the mat. Even though you're not turning your hands out, they're stationary, but think of those elbows coming in like you're turning a doorknob, which will bring your biceps closer to your body and will give you more strength in your upper body as you're trying to hold plank. So let's try that again. Come to all fours. Check your alignment. Keep a nice neutral spine. Pull your belly button in towards your spine so that you have strength there. Step your hands out, one full palm print forward. Curl your toes under, sink your hips back. Engage your core, push up and push your hips back. Pushing away, and think of that movement of opening the doorknob with your forearms. So you're kind of pulling it in toward your ears, sinking your hips back, and just breathe here for a minute. We're stretching out our calves. You might want to walk your dog a little bit. Engage your core. Let your head just be neutral. And then try to engage your core. Shift your chest forward without moving your hands or your feet. Push away from the earth. And come on back up. One last one. We're building heat. Engage your core. Pull it up. Push your heels back, drop your knees one at a time, sink your hips into child's pose. And maybe you want to rotate your wrists. See what feels good. And then grab your blocks. Bring them to the front of your mat. And step your right foot between them. And come into a runner's pose. So check your back foot. Make sure that your ankle is behind your knee. Make sure your front knee is in a right angle so that you can see your toes when you look over it. And we're stretching out that hip flexor on our left side. So you can use your blocks for support. Just stay here for a minute. Make sure you check in with your body. Make sure that your spine is nice and long. And then start that movement back with your hips. Stretching out the hamstring. Toe pointing up to the ceiling. And start that gentle flow back and forth between the hip flexor stretch and our hamstring. Forward. And back. And as always, stay in whichever one you need to. If you feel you need a hamstring a little bit more today. And then just check your alignment. You're going to curl that back toe. And you're going to come up when you're ready. And you might want to walk that back foot in a little bit. And when you feel stable, come straight up. And that back toe is kind of on an angle, 45-degree angle, facing forward. Front knee is still bent. And bring your arms up. This is warrior one. And you can separate your legs a little bit so they're on two different tracks. So you have more grounding and more stability. Feel the stretch in that back calf. And be careful of that front knee. Make sure it doesn't track out or in. Sink into it a little bit. Maybe just scoot those toes forward. And then bring your hands to cactus. Straight, long spine, hinge at your hips, and start to come forward. And if you need to, have your blocks handy. Come on back up. Slowly down. Exhale. You don't have to grab your blocks. They're there just in case you need them. Come on back up. Use your core. One more time. Inhale down. And up. Okay, now bend your knees, bring your hands to your blocks. And I want you to pull that front knee back. This is pyramid pose. So just stay here. Both legs are straight, knees aren't locked, but they're straight. And then slowly bring that left knee back to the earth. Stay here. Take your block inside your right foot and then begin to twist. And you can take your hand on your hip or you can take it behind you and just opening up your chest. So always on the inhale, you make your spine long. On the exhale, you twist and be mindful not to let that right knee splay out. Keep it stacked over your ankle. And come on back. And then slowly bring that foot back and sink into child's pose for a breath or two. Inhale, come on up. Bring those blocks back in front of you and take the opposite leg forward. Left leg steps between the blocks, knee over ankle, leaning forward, but you can still see your toes, hips and shoulders are forward. Use your blocks for support, keeping a nice long spine. Good. Just breathe here. Opening up the hip flexor on this side. That's your psoas muscle. That gets really tight when we sit a lot. And then slowly start to bring your hips back, stretch out the hamstring. And you'll feel the stretch not only in your hamstring, but in the top of your glutes, in the back. Your lower back, and then start that organic movement on your breath, forward and back. And be mindful not to let that front knee go over your toes. You always want to be able to see your toes. You always want a straight spine. And then finally come to stillness when you come to the front and start to set yourself up. Maybe bring that front foot back a little bit. You feel what you need, curl your back toe. And when you're ready, lift up and drop that back heel. Come straight up. Warrior one. Hips and shoulders are facing me. Back heel is kind of extending back, so you have like a 45-degree angle in that back foot. Front foot toe is straight forward. Hips and shoulders are forward. Pull your shoulders down away from your ears. There you go. Cactus. Inhale, lift. Exhale, cactus. Inhale, lift. Long spine. Exhale, cactus. One more. Inhale, lift. Exhale, cactus. Hinge at the hips. Check in with your body. Be strong and start to come forward. Inhale, lift. Exhale, forward. Inhale, lift. One last one. Exhale, forward. Grab your blocks. Turn that back heel down. Bring it all the way down. Your knee to the mat. Your right knee to the mat. Put your block inside your left foot. And then hand on your hip. Left hand on your hip. Inhale, long spine, and then twist. And your gaze follows your twist. Be mindful of that front knee. Don't let it go out to the left. And slowly come back. Bring your foot back to child's pose. And then slowly make your way back to hands and knees. And we're going to come back into down dog. And from down dog, we're going to go into three-legged dog, which we've not done before, which is just raising your right leg straight up. So let's get set up. Step your hands forward. Curl your toes. Drop your hips back. Lift your hips up and back. So take your right foot, extend it straight up like you're doing a split. And just push back on that heel of your left foot. Engage your core. And then bring that leg back down to meet the other one. Take a minute here. Make sure that those biceps are close to your ears. And then lift gently. Three-legged split on your left side. Pull that leg up. Engage your core. Push back on your right foot. Come back down. To your knees, to child's pose. Now the next time we do a three-legged dog rather, we're going to bring from three-legged dog, we're going to bring our knee in towards our chest. And when we do that, we're going to pull our core in, and we're going to keep our back flat. So let's set up again for all fours. Step your hands forward. And here's another pose that we haven't done before. Lift your hips up and back. Those biceps are rotating in. Your elbows, I should say. And then lift that right leg for a three-legged dog. Now engage your core. Shift your chest forward. Pull your knee in towards your chest. And then extend back out. And as always, this is a new posture. If this is not in your practice today, then just stay in down dog. And let's do it again. core in, knee to chest, shift your chest forward. Come on, back. And back down. Knees wide, child's pose. This takes a little bit more energy than just a down dog. So give yourself, honor your body today. If you need to sit in child's pose for a minute, just stay here. Come on back, we have to balance and do it on the other side. So all fours again, check your alignment, walk your hands forward, curl your toes, sink your hips, and then lift them up and back. Spiraling in those elbows, pulling your core in, and then lift your left leg up. Engage your core, bring that knee in as you bring your chest forward towards your chest, and then extend it back out. And then again, inhale, pull your core in, knee to chest, shift your sternum forward. One more time, back out, and down to child's pose. Take a minute. Be grateful for the freedom we're feeling in our bodies to do all kinds of new things. Breathe here. Walk your hands back up. Take a seat. And check in with your breath. If your breath is starting to get a little bit choppy, just be a little mindful of evening out your breath. Just stay here for a minute. Let your body kind of take a pause and let everything settle and equalize. We've been inverted for a while. So when you use your core and the strength of pulling in, you take a lot of the pressure off your back and off your hips. So you just have to be more mindful of how you move. Okay, let's try to extend our legs. Take your blocks in front of you and have your straps handy. And just widen your legs and check your sit bones. Pull them out from underneath you so that you're sitting up nice and tall. Nice long spine. Check in with your neck. Make sure your ears are over your shoulders. Just kind of scoot your legs out and start to hinge at your hips. Make sure you're not rounding your back. It doesn't matter if you just stay right here. You're getting enough of a stretch in your hamstring. The most important thing is to keep a nice, tall, straight spine. And you don't want to be rounding this way. So lift your hips. Sit up on a block, sit up on a blanket if you need to. If your hamstrings are really tight, you might even want to just leave them folded in a little bit. Just wherever your body needs to be today, but make sure your spine is nice and long and your chin is back. And then take it wherever you feel comfortable taking it on your forward fold. So just kind of walk your blocks out. If that's in your practice, stay here. Just listen to wherever you need to be. You can point those toes to the ceiling. You can really feel the stretch in your hamstrings. And then slowly, wherever you are, walk your back up to a neutral spine. And remember, your legs don't have to be as wide as mine. They could be just like this, wherever it feels good for you. So now take your left knee in, bend your left knee so that your foot is on the inside of your left thigh, your right thigh. So nice and tall. And then twist over to your right. So get that hand out to the behind your hip. And then start to hinge your hips and come forward. You might want to reach and grab the outside of your shin, your calf, with your left hand. Whatever feels good. You're getting an opening, twisting in you should feel it in your left side body around your waist, above your hips. And come on back up. Take a breath. And then switch legs. Extend your left leg. Bring your right foot in. Sit up nice and tall. Get those sit bones out. Inhale, lift. Exhale, left hand behind your hip. Start to bring your right hand over to the outside of your shin or wherever it feels good. And then just try to reach, hinge at your hips and lean forward. Bring your chest towards your thigh. Toe is pointed up. Feel the stretch in your hamstring and your lower back. And inhale, come on up. Now, if it's in your practice today, try to bring both pads of your feet together. And this is where you might need your blocks to be supporting you here so that you can have a tall, long spine. And if this is too much, then just sit in Sukhasana. Yeah. But elevating your hips will help in this stretch. So take it wherever it feels good. Remember, we're just taking the freedom to explore. So just explore, and if this is not where you need to be exploring today, then just back off a little. So we want to get those hips open as much as we can, so sit up nice and tall. And here's another piece of this, hinge at your hips. This is taking it another step forward. This may be way too much for you. Start to hinge forward, keeping a nice long spine. Remember, you always have the option of supporting here. And then slowly walk your way up. There is no perfect pose. No one has to do all the poses. No two bodies will ever look alike. We're just exploring different ways to move and to bring our energy around in our body. And bring your knees in, extend them out in front of you. Sit up nice and tall, pull those sit bones out for Dandasana. Toes up, seated straight like a letter L. Tall back, legs straight in front of you, toes up. And take your hands, put them behind your hips. Or put your knuckles down, whatever feels good. Nice and tall spine, chin is tucked. And here's where you might want your strap. We're going to hinge at our hips, and we're going to start to come forward. So you might want to take your strap and put it behind the balls of your feet. You're sitting up nice and tall. And maybe this is where you go. You're not pulling on these straps so that you're rounding your shoulder. You're keeping your shoulder blades back and tucked towards your spine for support. Toes are pointed up, knees, ankles, and hips are in perfect alignment. And you're just nice and tall. And then maybe you're going to hinge at your hips and walk forward a little bit. But keeping a nice long upper body. Don't drop your head. Keep your neck neutral. There you go. And just go as far as you go. That's it. That's great. We're just stretching and opening up our hamstrings. And then release. And you're going to come back into boat. So we're going to come on our side. Stay exactly where you are. I'm just changing so you can see me. And then we're going to pull our knees in to our chest. Knees and ankles and hips are in alignment. Tuck your hands under your thighs. And begin to lean forward. Maybe push your toes until you find that point where you can balance by lifting your feet off the earth. Nice long spine. And then start to walk. Flex, 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 flex. Both legs. If it's in your practice, if not, just stay there. Use your core. Long back so you're not going to slide back. Last one. And down. And then extend your legs long. Use your core and find your way all the way down to the mat. Slow and steady. And then once you get there, extend your hands above your head, and your feet nice and long, like you're doing a long good morning stretch. And you might want to put something under your neck. Make sure you tuck your shoulders. You scoot down here so you can see me better. Tuck your shoulders. And just take a minute to rest. We transition from one posture to the next. You always need to give yourself a little time to let it, while the energies balance out. And then slowly bring your knees, bend your knees, and bring your heels close to your bottom. And just relax and widen your stance to the width of your mat, and then start to windshield wiper your knees down. Then walk them back together and take both knees, leave your arms out like a T on the mat, even with your shoulders, and then just let your hips and your knees fall over to your right, and let your gaze go to the left. And maybe you put a block underneath your right leg. Maybe you put a block between your legs, whatever feels good. But you want your shoulders to stay on the floor, on the mat, and your gaze is in the opposite direction of your knees. Then slowly inhale, bring your knees back up. Take a breath. And then let your knees shift over to the left, and your gaze goes to the right. Again, use the block on the outside of your thigh or between your legs, whatever feels good. We just want a nice gentle twist. Slowly bring your knees back up to center. Take your block and slowly inhale, lift your back, your hips, and place that block under your sacrum for a supported bridge. Knees are still bent. The sacrum is above your tailbone. It shouldn't be as high as your waist. It's under your waist and above your tailbone. And just find softness in your shoulders. Just check in with your body. Make sure you're not scrunching your shoulders towards your ears. Try to breathe into that softness. Make sure your knees stay parallel and your knees are over your ankles so that they're not splaying out. And just breathe here. And then slowly engage your core and lift your feet straight up. And maybe flex and point. It's called legs up the wall. You can do this at your house against the wall. So always a really good restorative pose. And maybe pedal your feet in each independently in opposite directions. Maybe circle your ankles. Because you know that calf is your second heart, so we want to pump it and get all that blood flowing back to our heart, and then go the opposite direction. And then find stillness here. And if this is too much for you, just leave your knees bent here. If this doesn't feel good, then just leave them here. And then slowly bend your knees. Bring your feet to the mat. Gently engage your core. Lift your hips up. Remove the block. And take whatever final pose you need before Shavasana. So you can windshield wiper your legs. You can swing them back and forth. You can hug them into your chest. That's always a really good feeling pose, and maybe rock around so you're massaging your lower back. You can take happy baby. Your call. And then finally, when you're done, just extend your legs, relax your arms. Maybe support your neck with a blanket. Maybe put the blanket over you. Maybe put a pillow under your knees. Just find what you need to feel comfortable in Shavasana for the next 4 to 5 minutes. Bring your attention to your